All right, so let's talk about connection for a minute. Think back to the people in your life that have had a major influence. Think back to some of those crazy conversations where one conversation absolutely changed everything. It said we can't change our world all at one time, but we change it one conversation at a time. Think about those powerful conversations you've had. Think about the people that have left an imprint on your life, people that have been meaningful specifics in your life. Aren't they all people of connection, people that connect with you, people that just, you feel that connection, and when it happens, it's absolutely magic. Here's why: because nothing happens and no one moves until a connection happens. You look at the top salespeople simply connect quicker in the home. People that struggle to sell in the home, they struggle to make a connection, or they don't make a connection. People that have high persistency rates. I was talking last week how someone was, saying, "Oh, the chargebacks here are terrible." It's like, it's not the here that's the problem, brother. Let me show you Hutch's persistency. Let me show you Jeremico's persistency. Let me show you some of the top people's persistency. It's there's no connection. You might get the sale, but if there's not a connection, you're going to have chargebacks. That's the sales side. The people that have the biggest teams, I'm telling you, watch Nick Greco. He is a connector. He connects well with people. He connects quickly with people. And that's why he's able to move people. That's why he's the biggest team on the team. I mean, that's why he's going to do between 250 and 300,000 next month. I'm telling you, he's a connector. He knows how to connect quickly. You look at all the top people, they're people that know how to make connections. You look at married couples that are happy and thriving. And keep in mind, time in the marriage is not always an indication of the health of the marriage. I'm talking about marriages that thrive. It's people that connect. They connect with each other on a regular basis. You look at parents and kids that have great relationships. There's connection there. I'm just telling you, all the good stuff happens. All the good stuff happens once you make a connection. Now, here's what making a good connection with people does. It leaves a positive emotional wake. If you want to lead a massive team, if you want to be a positive, a meaningful specific, you've got to leave a positive emotional weight. That's what people that connect well do. Now, what does it take? Be crystal clear. Making connections, making good connections is a lot of work. It's hard work. First thing it takes is willingness. There's got to be a willingness to make connections there. One of the things I'm going to talk about is in a minute is the 5 things that will help you make better connections. But that willingness, it's going to drive all 5 of them. If there's not that willingness there, none of the 5 matter, because we won't do it. We have to be willing to make a connection. And if you kind of think about people that don't connect well, isn't that typically the number one issue? They're just not willing to make that connection. They're not willing to put in the work. You think about a couple that falls apart. They're not one or both of them is not willing to put in the work to connect, to make sure that they stay connected. It takes willingness. Why? Because it takes a lot of work to connect well. It takes a lot of work to connect well. And I apologize. My allergies are driving me crazy right now. The second thing it takes, and this ties in with willingness, is it takes selflessness. Selfish people don't connect. Selfish people, their use for people is how they can use people. Selfish people, their use for people is how they can use people. That's it. That's what selfish people do. People that connect well, it takes a high level of selflessness. Why? Because in order to connect, one of the things I'm going to talk about in a little bit is you have to put the other person first. When a person's constant thought is me, how does this make me look? How does this make me feel? What's in it for me? When that's their constant thought, you can't put someone first. You can't put someone first. And on one of the 5 it takes a ton of selflessness to do one of the 5. And I'm just telling you, it's going to take more selflessness than you think to connect at a high level. The third thing it takes is focus. It takes a ton of focus. Staying laser focused on connection. Because if one of the things I'm going to talk about in a little bit is when you're there, you can't be anywhere else. That takes a ton of focus to not let your mind drift. And I say not let your mind drift as if that's possible. to keep pulling your mind back, keep pulling it back. Maybe you're capable of perfect focus in every environment. I know I'm not. I have to work and go, come on back, come on. It takes a ton of focus to connect well with people. The fourth thing is intentionality. Intentionality. On accident conversations very rarely yield high levels of connection. I'll say it again, on accident conversations very rarely yield a high level of connection. It takes a ton of intentionality to connect. When Holly and I are putting together an event, you might think about some of our awards galas over the year that we've had. There's so much intentionality in that weekend to make sure that there's a high level of connection as a team, to make sure that we connect as individuals and as a team and come out more powerful. There's a ton of intentionality in it. You look at any massive, powerful speaker, you look at John Maxwell, his intentionality is why he can connect with an entire room as quickly as he can. He's very intentional. He does his homework. It's crazy to see the homework he'll do before he speaks at an event to create that intentionality. You've got to have that. And then the fifth thing it takes is patience. Here's what's crazy about connection. It happens in an instant, but you can't make it happen in an instant. A connection happens in an instant, but you cannot make it happen in an instant. You cannot force it. So you have to work at it, and then it happens. Once that connection happens, now you've got it. It happens in an instant, but you cannot make it happen in an instant. You cannot microwave connection. It may happen immediately. I'm thinking about some of you guys, like first time we met, I mean, we connected, man. It was right away. If some of y'all took a little while, we had to work at it. And then once we connected, we connected. It'll happen in an instant, but you cannot make it happen in an instant. That's why it takes patience. That's why when you see a relationship that falls apart, it's typically because of those five things, right? They're just not there. There's not those ingredients aren't there. If the willingness isn't there, if the selflessness isn't there, the patience isn't going to be there. And without that focus and intentionality, it's just not going to happen. But it takes all five things. So what's the point of that? Connection takes work, but it's worth it. That's why I had you think about all those impactful conversations in your life, those conversations that changed your life in that moment. It may not have changed everything about your life, but it certainly changed the way you looked at life in that moment. That's why I had you think about those, because it's worth it. It's worth it. So let's get into the basics on how to connect better. Number one thing that you've got to do, you and I have got to do to connect better with others, is connect better with ourselves. If we don't connect with ourselves, we can't connect with anybody else. That's why people that are lost in image and lost in all that, they don't connect well with us because they're not connected with themselves. They don't know who they are. They're just letting society tell them what's important to them. I guess this reality TV show is important. Everybody says it's important. I guess it's important to just scroll mindlessly through social media because that's what seems like everybody else is doing. They're not an authentic article. Does that make sense? They're what Sigmund Freud would call society's lackey. That's most people. That's most people. But for you, that's not you and I, because you and I want to be leaders. We want to have a positive impact in people's lives. So we've got to get connected with ourselves. What's the top thing that takes? It takes maturity. That's the constant thing in life. If we're mature, the more mature we are, the more connected we are with ourselves, the more we'll be able to connect with others. But it starts with connecting with ourselves. Connecting with ourselves is part of maturity. So how mature are you? How mature are you? And don't look at maturity like, I had a school teacher that would always, and she mispronounced it, drive me crazy. She'd say mature. You're not very mature. You joke around all the time. And I'm like, that's not what maturity is. Don't get me wrong. There are some immature things you can joke around about, but people that are super serious, that's not a symptom of being mature. It's a symptom of being uptight is what it is. People that are mature can laugh at themselves. People that are mature can make mistakes and laugh at it and go, well, there you go. Didn't think that was going to happen today. So how mature are you? Here's some good questions to think on. What does it take to get you mad? What does it take to get you mad? You look at most of the world, they're unbelievably immature. How do we know? Because look at what gets them mad. someone inadvertently comes too close to them in traffic and they lose their mind. That's not a mature person. That's not a mature person. That person hasn't matured one bit. They're scarcely better than a child that screams when someone touches their toy. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? It's the same behavior. It's lack of maturity. So what does it take to get you mad? Because here's the key. If you and I are going to make progress in life, as we make progress or as we move through life, we have to turn down the level of what it takes to get us mad. What does it take to get you mad? I'm so mad that person ticked me off. If that's not less every year, we're not growing. If that's not less every year, we're not growing. Hey, if you want to stay in if you want your marriage to thrive, you better learn how to turn down what gets you angry every year. Otherwise, y'all ain't gonna make it. I'm sorry to say, you're not gonna make it. You gotta turn down. As we get older, we need to be more mature. I mean, think about who's the least mature person you know. Well, typically, I think about babies. They're not very mature at all, right? They just lose their mind over stuff. Well, if we resemble that, then that's a bad thing. Does that make sense? So what does it take to get you mad? What does it take to get you frustrated? Frustrated. I'm frustrated. I'm just so frustrated about this right now. I'm frustrated, right? That should be going down each year. Why? Because mature people have perspective. Mature people have perspective. They don't get frustrated about little things. They don't let little idiosyncrasies and annoyances of others frustrate them. Can you see how all that ties into that willingness to connect with others? If you're not mature, you're not going to have that willingness. Why? Because everybody's going to be frustrated. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated. I always love when someone says that person made me cuss them out. Did they move? Did they put your hand? Did they put your hand in your and operate you like a puppet? Then they didn't make you cuss them out. You chose to do that. That's a chosen behavior. I don't know. Maybe y'all don't have relatives like that. Lord knows I do. Hopefully, hopefully not. I'll think about one of my relatives right now. All right, back on point. Remember that focus thing. All right. What gets me off track? See, the more mature we get, it should be a lower level thing that causes us to get off track. So some of me and my closest friends got some terrible news, and it is what it is, right? Do we let it take us off track? Do we keep moving forward? What you see what I'm saying? Like what gets you off track? We've got to get done what we've got to get done. We've got to, here's what it is. We've got to stick to what we said we're going to do. What does it take to get us off track? There's people that didn't get anything productive done today because their team lost yesterday. They're still, I can't believe it. That call cost us the game. And you're off track over something like that. Does that make sense? So maturity, that's some questions to think on. Here's another maturity question. Am I being real with myself on three key things? My motives, my priorities, and my concerns. Am I being real with myself? Now we all just zoom out for a minute and look back at a time we were less mature and we weren't being real with ourselves on our motives. Our motive wasn't really that. Our motive was a little selfish, right? Our priorities weren't really that because I wasn't really concerned about that. I was concerned about that. Am I being real with myself? Because mature people can go, dude, that was pretty selfish. You know better than that, man. Let's do better tomorrow. Let's do better tomorrow. That's what mature people do. Immature people, they spin, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. I want to talk about transparency, but you and I, we want to be more mature. So we've got to every year get better. And that's one of the reasons I love the events. The events make me think. The big events, I come out thinking different thoughts, feeling different feelings, and that's how you become more mature. Something I read this morning was massive for me. I was like, God, that's okay. All right. Next one with maturity. No, that's it. Here's one last thought on maturity. It's one of those things that if we're not checking in on, we're not making progress on. It's like weighing yourself. You're not going to make good progress with your health if you're not weighing yourself every day. Well, you got to check in to know where you're at so you know what you need to do next. And checking in has a way of making us go, you can do better, buddy. Getting on that scale going, maybe I shouldn't have got Rockies twice last week. or whatever it is, right? You got to check in on these things as on a regular basis to make sure you're making progress. Because here's what I'm going to tell you. You're going to get older either way. You and I are going to, we're not going backwards in time right now. So we might as well make sure we're making progress. All right. Number 2, takes to connect, communicating with transparency and sincerity. And it's got to be both transparency and sincerity. Here's where people get in a jam with their lack of ability to connect. They're appearance driven, not actuality driven. They're appearance driven. How do I appear? How do I appear? They're constantly worried about how they appear versus what am I actually? I want everybody to think of me as this. We can't worry about that. Let's worry about actually becoming this. Because I promise you, becoming is way more work, way more worth it. And it's the only way to actually appear like that. Y'all ever know anyone that just got to appear perfect? They got to appear perfect. You kind of want to like get all of us together and have a meeting with them like, hey, just so you know, we're worried about you. It looks exhausting what you're doing, trying to look perfect all the time. And we just want to let you know that we all know you're not. So we just want you to be able to redirect that energy into something more positive, like becoming, instead of worried about appearing. Here's why. Excellence needs no explanation. If we're constantly having to explain, well, now the thing about that, now the thing you don't understand, the thing, if we're in those modes, we're not pursuing excellence. And we've all done it. It's just we got to do less of it. When we're in explaining mode, we're not pursuing excellence. Excellence doesn't require an explanation. It does take, remember I said it takes patience, right? All right. Here's some things to think on when it comes to transparency and sincerity. These are 2 big things. If you're going to only write 2 down, I want you to write these 2 down. This will help you in your business. This will help you in your marriage. This will help you with your kids. All right. Here's number 1. If I can't hurt you, I can't know you. Meaning, if I don't know stuff about you that I could potentially use to hurt you, I can't know you. Can you see how transparency takes trust? Let me tell you something about trust. It sounds negative, but it's not. Trust will get you burnt. Well, that was not very positive at all. Trust will get you burnt. But mature people don't carry that baggage the rest of their lives. Majority of people don't miss stuff that ain't missing them. I told one of y'all that recently. One of your crazy family was making you feel a certain way. And I just said, hey, quit missing people that ain't missing you. Trust will get you burnt. But if you ever stop trusting, you're now a slave to the hurts of your past. It is what it is and it ain't what it ain't. But it doesn't stop it from being true. Trust will get you burnt. But if you ever stop being willing to extend trust, you become a slave to the hurts of your past. And you won't connect with anybody new. We all know people like that, right? They went through a nasty divorce and they're just as lonely and bitter as can be. Slave to the hurts of their past. Won't trust. I'll never trust anybody again. Hey, let me tell you something. I'll never trust anybody again is a recipe for just trying to get to death without getting bruised too bad. There's people like that. They're already dead. They just haven't filed the paperwork yet. But as they stop trusting, transparency, trust will get you burnt, but trust is the only thing that creates transparency. Transparency is the only thing that creates connection. Connection is the only thing that creates all the good stuff. All right. So number 1, if I can't hurt you, I can't know you. Number 2, if I can't see you, I can't love you. Man, if I can't see you, the real you, I can't love you. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I get it. I get it, especially when we want to impress someone, want to hide all our flaws. If I can't see you, I can't love you. Can you see why we had to start with connecting with yourself and maturity? Because it takes a mature person to be okay with their flaws, which, by the way, can I tell you something? This will make you want to do high school over for some of you. Everybody's got insecurities. Everybody's got insecurities. Everybody worries about, how's this shirt make me look? Everybody, I wonder if they thought that was funny. Everybody's got insecurities. once you know that and get over it, it's like the key to the city. Why? It's freeing. Everybody's got insecurities. So if I can't hurt you, I can't know you. If I can't see you, I can't love you. That's why connection is so key. That's one of the reasons, if you think about this with Andy, when you feel high levels of connection with him, it's because he's very transparent. He knows he's very clear. I have one guy tell me, Andy ain't perfect. I'm like, yeah, watch one of his shows. He literally says that all the time. Guarded people never connect. Guarded people never live a life worth living. It is what it is. So communicate with transparency and sincerity. Number 3, be present. When you're trying to connect, be there and be nowhere else. You want to know the number one ill in society today when it comes to connection? Because the society today it's an epidemic of lack of connection. Why do you think such an epidemic in the use of opioids and things like that? But people don't have connection. Connection would save some of those lives. Number one problem with connection, this thing right here. 2 people having a conversation. Once you pull that out, connection's done. Once you pull that out, connection's done. Be there and be nowhere else. Well, I got things on my mind. I got things going on. Let me tell you something. A mature person can take stuff they've got going. I've got something on my mind right now that's just big time on my mind right now. Mature people can take stuff like that and put it in a box for a minute so they can connect and do what they're supposed to do. That's what mature people can do. Immature people, their feelings just run ripshod. Now some people say, well, you're not supposed to bottle stuff up, Stephen, and you're supposed to feel feelings and be in the moment and all that. I hear you. Mature people process feelings at a time of their choosing. That's what mature people do. Immature people just let them run ripshod over them and they just feel whatever they want to feel, however they're going to feel it. So be there, be nowhere else. Make that connection. And again, when you're being present with someone, that means you can't be anywhere else. To truly be present with someone. And I get that it's hard. That's why I said it takes willingness. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of patience. All right, number 4, seek to understand before trying to be understood. This is whether you're selling, whether you're doing a meeting in front of a bunch of people, whether you're trying to have a conversation with your spouse. Seek to understand before trying to be understood. The reason people lack connection is they want people to understand them. Here's what you need to understand about me. Here's how I think. Here's how I feel. Never going to build a connection like that. That's why society is so disjointed, because everybody's so loudmouthed and opinionated about their opinion and I'm going to speak my truth on the matter all the time. You're never going to make a connection until you seek first to understand before trying to be understood. What does that take? You got to find out about the people. Who are they? What's their history? What do they want? What do they hope for? What do they dream about? What hurts are they carrying? It's a lot to digest. That's why it takes a lot of willingness and a lot of work to connect. But if you try to be understood before you understand, you're going to be frustrated with your lack of connection. You have a lot of conversations where I told them, and I hear you, but they didn't, because there was no connection. All right, number 5, and we got to get going. Number 5, this is big. That's why we start with maturity, because this one, it takes maturity to do. Go first. People that connect well go first. They don't wait for others to reach out to them. They go first. Here's why. They value people. They value people. I've got a relative. He's just like, I just don't like people. I don't like people. I've come to the conclusion I don't like people. I'm like, that's not a life worth living, man. Are there people that will drive you a little bonkers if you let them? Yeah, but let me give you an enlightening truth. Everybody's behaving the best way they know how based on the information they've come to accept. They would behave different just out of self-preservation if they had accepted different information. Everybody's behaving the best way they know how based on the information they've come to accept. When we understand that to be a foundational truth, it's easier to value people. How can I make their day better? One of the things I used to do with Chandler every morning before I'd send him off to school was say, hey, make people smile, make people laugh. How many people can you make smile? How many people can you make laugh today? Because I wanted him to be a person of connection. Why? Because I want him to be happy. I want him to be fulfilled. I want him, if I'm not here tomorrow, I want him to be able to be a leader in his life. So that focus on others, try to get that instilled early. What wake do I want to leave? We started talking about that in the beginning. What emotional wake do I want to leave? If I want to leave a positive emotional wake, I got to go first. I've got to go first. How can I make their day better? What feeling do I want to create? Those 5 basics will help you build more connection faster, deeper, and keep connection and reinstate connection where you've lost it. I'm telling you, this will help. This will help you in the house making sales. This will help you in recruiting and building your team. This will help you when you're speaking in front of your team. This will help you in your marriages, help you with the kids. I'm telling you, connection is it's one of those things that when you have it, you feel the magic of it. When you don't, you feel the loneliness of lack. I'm telling you, connection's big, guys. I hope this helps. I know it'll help if you and I work a little harder on these things. Guys, Holly and I love you. We want you to win so bad. Can't wait to see some of y'all at the fall summit that'll be there. Holly and I will be rolling in. Looking forward to seeing you there. Guys, let's go out. Let's get after it. We got October, we got November, we got December. We have got to do some massive things, because what we do over, and you're going to hear me say this every week, what we do over this fourth quarter will have everything to do with what we get done in 2022. And here's what Holly and I want for you. We want 2022 to be the best year in the history of your family. And so we've got to get some stuff done here over the next few months. Love y'all. Hammer down.